I found Sabrina M. Scott on Instagram. I felt called to message her. We became quick friends. Almost too quick, like we've known one another for lifetimes. It's the modern way to link up with other local witches. She's an author, artist, spiritual teacher, and PhD student. She teaches and guides courses in wellness through tarot, magic, spirituality, and science. I recommend her course, Tarot and Magic Without Bullshit. She takes the woo out of woo-woo.
This is totally out of my realm, but I love it. Like, this is so cool.
Well, it's weird because like I have kind of like these two worlds now. Like I've been three worlds, I guess. I was a professional wrestler in my early 20s, and then I retired for 10 years, became a firefighter, became a mom. And
badass, by the way, firefighter. That's so cool. I love that.
Thank you. We probably annoy you because where do you live in the city?
I'm in the East End.
Okay. For some reason, I thought you were in the West End. My hall's at Dufferin and DuPont.
Oh, okay, cool.
But I was always into like witchcraft and the occult and heavy metal music in my preteens, and then in my early 20s, and then I married someone who, I don't know, just kind of sucked my soul out a little bit, and I filled like this really normal role, for lack of better terms. So I really suppressed my real self, my authentic self, and now I'm like, obviously I'm going through a divorce, but I'm
actually, it was not obvious. But I would take that information and give a big hug.
Thank you. It's so messy, it's so stressful, but I also am the happiest I've been, I think, my entire life. Like it's been this crazy amazing journey. So
in that case, congratulations.
Thank you.
Not enough people have like divorce parties or breakup parties. Do you know what I mean? And like that's such a powerful, speaking of ritual, very powerful ritual, powerful magic to do.
Honestly, like the most helpful ritual that I find at this point in my life is like burning rituals.
Love it.
Writing everything down and then burning it.
I love it. Yeah. 100%.
Lots of bay leaf stuff. It's
totally. I love that. What's your sign, actually? I'm so curious.
I'm Aquarius.
Okay, so air sign. That kind of tracks the burning ritual.
Yeah.
Because that power is kind of like floating away in the smoke. So that tracks.
Interesting.
No, I love this too, and I'm a fire sign, so.
Okay. So
yeah, same.
So tell me, like, okay, so I watched a little bit of your lives now. So spirituality has been something that's been in your life since you were very young.
Oh my God, yeah, forever. Forever. Yeah, so I had the benefit of growing up around this funny thing called modern American spiritualism.
Okay.
And so if you're thinking of like seances and stuff like that, like you're spot on. That's exactly what it was. So I got to, oh, so cute. So I got to grow up with talking to dead people, other people talking to dead people, just a normal activity on a Sunday, like no big deal.
So this is how, like, this is what your family grew up practicing and believing?
Yeah. So I don't have actually very many good memories of my family whatsoever. So I don't want folks to like get it twisted. But,
no problem.
But that is like one thing that I'm thankful for is like my mom was in the church and brought me to stuff and it was totally cool. So that's like one good thing that I'm like, okay, I'm thankful for that. And like being exposed to that stuff at such a young age. So it got so normalized.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of people who find spirituality later in life, at least this is kind of what I've experienced from like some students and clients, like some folks that I talk to in the work that I do, it seems like sometimes folks have a bit of a wall up.
Yeah.
It's like they really want to go there. They really want to go into the spiritual, but it's like they've built that wall up over so many years.
Yeah.
That they're a little bit blocked to get there.
Yeah.
And that's no problem. Oh my God, cat, do not step on the recording. um, it's so ridiculous. So this is Choya.
Oh, hi, sweetheart.
Totally crazy.
It's okay. This is
Two
a
settings.
child-friendly podcast, so
Love it. Love it. Yeah, she has two settings, asleep and terrorist, basically. Oh, she's insane. But yeah, so it's interesting. A lot of people want to dive into the spiritual
yeah,
often and maybe have never had experiences with it throughout their life. And so then my job ends up sometimes being kind of like poking through that
yeah.
wall that they've spent their whole life building. And it can be done, 100% it can be done, but I'm thankful that I never had that wall to like smash.
That's that's great. Well, it sounds like it was like quite innate for you, and then it was
Totally.
nurtured.
Totally. Yeah, like it was nice to be in an environment where you weren't like a psycho for
Yeah.
dead people. Yeah, which was cool. Like, and it was really interesting to see folks doing their whole transpossession thing. And there's this other thing called spiritual, sorry, no, what is it? Physical mediumship.
Okay.
So that's where the mediums are engaging with objects in order to have fun, to chat with the spirits. And so the biggest example of this would be table tipping. So I got to go see that stuff when I was younger. So how it works is you've got a bunch of mediums chilling around a table, putting their hands around the table. It's usually a bunch of old ladies, to be honest. They sing songs, and then the table starts to literally like dance around and move.
Wow.
And it's like pretty badass. Like I remember going when I was a kid and I was like poking my head underneath. I was like, what is
How
that?
is this happening?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, literally no one is touching the table. Like no one is like rocking it with their legs. Like I was like, is anyone fucking around? Like, no. It was literally just this like super, super heavy wooden table that was like dancing around. And like that's super common in spiritualism, I would say. It's like not everywhere, but you can still find folks who do that, who practice that way.
Wow.
It's definitely more of an old school style of mediumship, but so I got to grow up around seeing that type of stuff. And so when that becomes like just a normal thing,
Yeah.
reality kind of takes a bit of a different shape.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it becomes less of a like, that seems crazy or fantastical, and more of, yep, this is just everyday life, and here's how I can engage with that. Here's how I can work with energy to either protect myself or achieve some kind of goal,
Right.
whether that is, I don't know, like getting a job or healing somebody.
Yeah.
I also got learned on how to do that in that circumstance, like energy healing and all of that. So I'm always a bit SOL when people are like, what energy books would you recommend? I'm like, I don't fucking know, man. Like I learned that stuff in person. Like, I don't know.
It's so, and now, did you grow up in the city?
I grew up in the States.
Where?
Colorado.
Okay, this makes more sense now, because I was like, I've never heard of like this spiritual background, religion, for lack of a better term. So Colorado, okay.
It's so interesting too, because I've been to a few of the spiritualist churches here just to like see if it was the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Doesn't sound the same. It doesn't sound like anything I've ever heard of.
Yeah, it's not the same. Like it's so interesting. So like the form of spiritualism I grew up in is, it's like the line of like the OG spiritualism, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So it started off in like 1850s, like upstate New York type of vibe. And so that kind of amalgamated into what's called the NSAC, the National Spiritual Association of Churches. So I got to chill with that. But here in Canada, the spiritualism is a little bit different, and it's a little bit more Christian, I find.
Oh.
Which is really interesting. Whereas in the States versions, it is mostly, I would say, a bit more non-denominational.
Okay.
They just call it spirit.
Okay.
Like the universe, they kind of more use that type of terminology. Whereas I find up here, they tend to use more God type of wording, which is fascinating. I'm so intrigued by it, but it means that I don't resonate quite as much with the spiritualism that I've found up here in Canada. So it is really interesting.
So how the hell did you end up here?
Yeah, so I'm actually originally Canadian. So yeah, so I came back up to be thank you, Kitty. Yeah, there's gonna be a bunch of cats making their wishes known.
Quite all right.
But yes, I'm originally Canadian, so I came back up here for university because it is way cheaper. Also, I can work legally. Also, healthcare.
Healthcare, number one.
Oh my God, yeah, my cat apparently agrees. But growing up in the States, it was always a thing where it was like,
Yeah.
don't get sick. You're gonna die. Like, not you're gonna die, but like, you know what I mean?
No,
Like this very much like don't get sick. Like,
I get it. Well, the professional wrestling companies I've worked for, they're all American, and so I've lived over there for years, and
So
especially in that job, like,
God, totally. Whereabouts were you in the States?
so I lived in McDonough, Georgia,
Oh
which
my
is
God.
literally a one light town, just about
Oh
30
my God.
minutes south of Atlanta.
What?
Uh, then it was Tampa, and then I've been to like every single state at least a handful of times because you're like a traveling circus.
100%. I love it. I love the States, to be honest with you.
I love a lot of things about it.
Yeah, I love a lot of things about it too. But I think like the people are so
Different.
genuine, which
Yeah.
I really love. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It's there. I'm always thankful when I come home. I don't know if it's like, I don't know if it's just a healthcare thing.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I
I
this
feel
has
you
always been home, but I don't know. I do enjoy the travel.
totally. I hear you. I hear you.
So I just want to let you know. So this is the weird connection. So I had a girlfriend that, like, in terms of like where I'm at in my spiritual journey,
Uh-huh.
um, a girlfriend and I were both employed by WWE. She
Love it.
had horrible anxiety forever, and then she realized like her anxiety was actually the fact based on the fact that she was really fucking psychic, and it was just overwhelming. And then
Yeah.
she talks about it as she's from North Carolina, and just so happened that this like spiritual community like booped her on the head
Love it.
and released her into the world. And again, this is something that like I've always had really strong connections to, like energy. And like when I was a kid, I could tell you instantly if a house was haunted or not. And then look into the books and ta-da, there was like a murder or whatever. And it wasn't always negative energy,
Yeah.
uh but she got in touch with me when I was in my retirement about 4 years ago, and she works a lot with angels. And apparently they were in her ear, like, Chantel's gonna get back into wrestling. You need to encourage her. She's out of alignment. She asked me to come back, and I was like, no fucking way. I'm not ready.
Oh my God.
Nope. And she's very like standoffish in terms of like, she's not like, hey, I'm psychic. And my angels were like, yo, what's up? Come back to wrestling. She was like, okay, no worries. And then I came back to her a year later with
Yeah.
this like overwhelming sense that, like, I don't know. I was just like, I need to talk to you. Like, I
Yeah.
feel, and it was like, we did this light work. We did this, like, it was just, I can't even describe, but it was that moment that she like booped me on the head, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden I was back on the spiritual journey. And
Love it.
literally 6 months later, I was hired by another major wrestling company. So it was,
Love it.
it's
Awesome.
crazy. It's
No,
so
it's
bigger
real
than
shit.
you.
It's real shit for sure. And like I love that. And it's so interesting that you mentioned that she was super open because I find a lot of folks are either too open or too closed. It's like not
Yeah.
usually that middle kind of balance. Often.
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah. I think it's because we had such a long history of friendship
Yeah,
that it was easier for her to kind of like dance around it.
totally.
But then she also knew I was open to it. I was just out of alignment. Like,
Yeah.
that is really who I am. But
Love
like,
it.
even now, I feel like I have to be really careful to like
Oh my
what I put
God.
out there. And
Careful. How? Why?
so
Where?
here's honestly, here's my biggest fear. So
Yeah.
I'm going through this divorce. It's really messy. My ex has it's one of those situations where he's looking to use anything against me,
Mm,
truthful or not, to tarnish me as a person because he's deflecting all of his shortcomings.
totally.
So I like I feel so empowered by my spiritual journey, and I feel like it's something he could potentially use against me. So I'm really worried. Like, my mom said something to me. She was like, I see you posting all your love of like crystals and tarot and witchcraft. And she's like, I'm worried that it's going to be perceived like you're off your rocker. And I'm like, oh, that's such an antiquated thing. And it's so far from how I feel about it and what I believe. And I get actually so much positivity back from the wrestling world about it.
Yeah.
And so many female wrestlers are aligned with us as well, which is the other crazy part.
I love that. That's so cool.
It's so weird because
awesome.
It's like the more I talk about it, the more everyone else is like, me too.
You know what? It's so interesting. I find that's actually true in a lot of like spheres.
Okay.
It's so fascinating. Or it's like the first person to kind of be bold and be like kind of into this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I feel like my experience has almost always been that people are just like shyly being like, also me. You know what I mean? Like whether that's in like academia and like nerd land in that regard, I've had it happen there. But also like just so many other different like communities and areas of life. I find a lot of the time folks are kind of afraid to talk about spirituality and be like, oh yeah, I do take this seriously, by the way. It's not just like a fun crystals are pretty type of thing. It's like I actually do care about this. And I feel like the more people are boldly claiming that, like the easier it is for more people to be like out and proud, so to speak, like not in an obnoxious way, but just in a way where like not to be cheesy, but we can banish the stigma or like whatever.
Totally. Completely like coven strong.
Totally. Because I think it's so interesting too. And I think unfortunately sometimes the spiritual community contributes to this in like a really negative way.
Yeah.
Where there's like we only look like one thing. We only wear the black and the stripy socks and the witchy hat, and we all like stare at people. Like there are some people who are, for whatever reason, bless their heart, but very interested in like propagating that stereotype.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure what that's about. But I don't think that does anyone any favors. And like I've seen even a lot of like new practitioners or people who are curious and passionate, but also kind of worried, like, do I fit in here? Do I belong here? Like I wear pink Adidas. Like, is this for me? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Like,
it's so not about that.
It's weird. And it's, I don't know. So I think the more people who look different ways, come from different walks of life, that can be vocal about, oh, I believe this thing, I'm take it seriously. I think it's kind of better for everyone, because then more people will see, oh, I do belong here, or I could find a home in this space.
Yes.
Which I think is really fucking needed. I think that's really cool.
Thanks. And for you, thank you. I don't even know how I found you, but I found you on Instagram and I was like, ooh, a girl from Toronto. Ooh, she likes all the stuff I like, but you are so far on your journey. So I was
no, we should like grab drinks when
I was like, do you want to like meet up?
Oh my god, we should, because honestly, I don't know that many folks in the city who practice. And like a lot of the witch community in the city, like, please cut this part out. This is just like Toronto gossip. But a lot of folks in the city are like weird.
Yeah.
It's like this, I'm sure you probably have noticed that as well.
Oh yeah.
But it's like there is kind of like a weird cult of personality in some pockets of the city, which I think it makes real connection kind of hard in those circumstances. Like there's like a lot of women who are really eager to be like grand level 5 high priestess with everyone kissing their ass, and like that is like not what it's about for me whatsoever. But I think that it's really common, and then those folks take advantage of like young new people who are like, ooh, what do I do? And it just becomes this whole weird thing. So
well, that's why I was so attracted to you, because I feel like you said, the women that I have met that practice, that represent that world in the city, they're not welcoming. They're actually really judgy.
Totally.
And I most of the time I'm pretty like I like wear band t-shirts and like my motorcycle shorts and my Vans. Like I don't look like I probably fit the role. I kind of look like a little bit of a tomboy, and I'm just like, it's not about the way you look. Like I should feel like I can walk into a spiritual shop and just
Totally.
be there. And but
Yeah.
like you probably agree with this. I feel like I've really grown out of the mentality in Toronto. I'm actually living in the burbs now, and
Oh
I'm
my
so
God.
much happier.
Whereabouts are you?
Hi, sweetheart. I'm actually like right on the border of Etobicoke, Mississauga.
Oh, no way. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So, and it's so funny because I feel like all the people in the city are people that are not from the city. And
Yeah,
all the people that are right on the outskirts are actually Toronto people that are like, I'm so over it.
it's so interesting.
And
Yeah,
they're
I feel
so
like
chill.
it's so interesting. Yeah, I think that's why I moved to like the deep East End.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much like in the beaches. I'm like almost in Scarborough. Like it's
Okay.
so east. It's like
But you're closer
so
to nature out there.
totally, which is super cool. Like there's so many raccoons.
Oh, wow.
There's so many. I love them. There's foxes, there's coyotes,
Beautiful.
so many cool birds. Like it is, and I've always noticed like the naturey bits in the downtown, 100%. Like I love the downtown energy,
Yeah.
but it definitely is interesting to connect with that different spirit of place, being like a little bit further out.
Off the grid.
It
Yeah.
feels a little different, but
Yeah.
it's kind of fun as
Yeah.
well in
Yeah.
its own way. Yeah, it's been fun. Making sure, so I'm just like making sure the iPad is still recording. Yes, it is.
That's okay. No worries. So what is your kind of vibe with that in terms of like you're obviously completely out there.
Mm, yeah,
Your position. I feel like you're it's like a sexual orientation or like coming
totally.
out with your
Oh
sexuality.
my God, totally.
Um, I, so I imagine you've had people that like don't support your vision, think you're crazy, think you're
Yeah,
you know, they're not in your like high vibe tribe for lack of better term. People love to say
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I've just stopped giving a shit, to be honest. Like, and I
yeah,
feel like no matter what you do, whether it's spirituality or literally anything else, like there's
yeah,
gonna be so many people who are like, uh,
true.
no, that's weird. And I'm sure that must have happened to you, like with wrestling too. Like I'm sure there were probably a lot of people who are like, girls shouldn't do that, or like whatever bullshit.
Yeah,
And so I feel like at the end of the day, whether it's something like, let's say, like women doing wrestling or like people doing witchcraft, it's like at the end of the day, like you have to live with yourself, and we all can't please everyone. So we might as well do what makes us happy and like feels aligned to us. Then everyone else can just like deal with it. That's kind of how I feel.
you know that, and that's internally how I feel.
Yeah.
You want, you would like some more green smoothie? Okay. I just gotta go get my toddler a smoothie. I'll be right
That,
back.
and it's a green
And he
smoothie.
loves green smoothie.
I love that. What a champ.
But like don't get it twisted. Like everything else is Kraft dinner and like chicken nuggets. So like this is my way of being like, here's some nutrition. Just bear with me one
Do your
moment.
thing, do your thing, do your thing.
Okay. You want a snack too, sweetie, or just green smoothie? Where's your dinosaur cup? Where did you put it? Well, that's not how I get it. You gotta give it to mommy in her hand. Thank you. You want a snack too, sweet? You want peanut butter crackers? Here's a snack. There you go. Okay, sweetie? Yep, 1 second. Here you go. There's your green smoothie, okay? Okay, sorry.
All good, all good.
So then, has your spirituality business, is that your full-time gig now, or
Yeah,
are you?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's been
wow.
that way for like years, actually.
Really?
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I've been doing this for like a minute. So yeah, that's my life. That's my work.
It's incredible. I'm envious.
Oh,
Well,
why?
I just, it's so hard to truly do your own thing. And especially that, obviously your clientele is on the same journey, is in line with your vision.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm one of the mediums I spoke with years ago, not even years ago, a year ago. She said to me, like, I essentially have multiple personality disorder. I have compartmentalized all my versions of myself and I keep them separate. And I'm still getting them all back into alignment. And it had a lot to do with childhood trauma and having to survive and
Doesn't always
you
always
know
the thing.
like overly responsible for one parent and blah blah.
Totally. Oh, I hear you. I hear you.
But
Yeah.
it was exhausting and I was like completely drained. Like I was one way as a firefighter because obviously that's a rule that 2% of departments in North America are made up of women. And I was trying to act a certain way and it was exhausting, like to fit this role. And one day I woke up and I said, fuck it, I'm just going to start being myself. I am a woman, I am who I am. And actually it made my job so much easier and I probably get along with everybody much better and I'm probably better at my job now.
Yeah. That's awesome.
um and then there was me as the wrestler and then there was me as a mom and then there was me as a wife. And it was tough, but yeah, I feel like I'm slowly, it's all becoming one. It's just, I got to get out of this divorce and then I'll be
Yeah.
there.
So are you noticing anything that is helping you to integrate everything?
I literally think letting go of the last few fucks um,
Yeah.
are
Love it.
what it is.
Yeah. Release that shit for sure.
And it's talking about, so that was, I think the biggest component was I never, I've always been that person that people want to come to and spill their life story, like uncomfortably fast, like
Yeah.
crying the whole nine.
Yeah.
Because I'm terrible at small talk. I'm like an introverted extrovert.
Me too.
Um, um, but don't you dare ask me about my life. Don't you dare ask me about my self-worth. That, and I think that's,
Yeah.
my power is I get people telling me their journey, but it's really I'm protecting myself.
Totally. Yeah.
And I think being more open about all the other sides of me and reaching out to my friends and talking about things, talking about that I love witchcraft, talking about that I believe there's more in this world and I don't, it's not just because I like Halloween or I liked punk
Yeah.
rock growing up, you know what I mean?
Totally.
um I think it's literally just verbalizing it to everybody, whereas I think I was always so in
Mm.
my own head.
Yeah. Totally.
um and especially with this divorce, I keep circling back to it, but it's so layered and it's
Well, it's impactful. It's a big thing. Like, I think getting married is a pretty impactful decision. It impacts, it changes so much about your life.
yeah.
And I think getting divorced is something similar. There's like a big release with that. There's a lot of stuff going on with that, like literally and symbolically. So I'd be more concerned if you were like, yeah, I'm just gonna mention it once.
Yeah,
Not
well,
really thinking about it.
the truth is this is divorce number 2 for me and I'm only 35. But my
That's
first
okay. No shame. Whatever. It's all
what is
good.
age, right? Time's
No
not real
judgment.
anyways.
Yeah, no judgment on my part, honestly.
But like the truth is I love love. I fall in love really fast. But I never believed in the union of marriage, like what is exhibited in the church, all the fucking paperwork that goes with it. I always knew something was inherently wrong when I went to go do it. I was there, that's that
Mhm.
part of me where I was just trying to do what I think I was supposed to do.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And when I really, really think about love, marriage means fucking nothing to me. And I actually think that's what's the demise of my relationships is when I get married
Mm,
because I think it's so unnecessary.
yeah, that's so interesting. I think for me it all kind of depends on like how that ritual is
Yeah.
perceived, right?
Yeah.
Like full disclosure, I've never been married, so I don't actually fucking know what I'm talking about.
All right.
But
I
like
know what I'm talking
theoretically,
about.
like thinking about it at, like from a magical standpoint, like as a ritual, I think there's something really interesting that can be possible when we see it as, like, let's say, like that magical ritual,
Yeah.
like
And I think,
a spiritual union of beings. I think there's something very interesting and potent that it could be. That
well,
it
if
could
I were to
or
ever
not.
get married again,
Yeah,
that person has to be also spiritual. Like it has to be something that is bigger than just like standing in front of somebody from the city
totally.
signing off on it. Because I think that like rigidity, that structure, that like Western culture bullshit, I think that's what throws me off. Like I hate it. I hate it. I'm not
Totally.
institutionalized. So
For sure, for sure, for sure.
um but I know, like I feel like we've like literally just scratched the surface. Like we've just done like an intro, like, hey, how you doing, girl? Like, tell me. I feel like we could, I want to know all about you and all about your practice, but like, do you want to do this in a few parts?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, let's
What's your vibe?
let's keep this piece
Yeah.
and like I actually just want to like hang out and have a drink, like but I think like we could like I'd like to just do another episode maybe in a few weeks. Like
Totally.
I'd love to like focus on you and your business,
Yeah, sure.
especially because you're local,
Yeah,
you're chill, you're not judgmental, and like I feel like that
I
needs
try.
to be in the world.
I do my best.
um but yeah, like so so just so you know, season 3, because of everything that's gone on in my life, it's been delayed a little bit. I actually, this will be cut out. So my ex has used the Delta variant against me of COVID, stating that by traveling, I'm endangering our son.
Oh my God.
So I'm not wrestling right now. I'm gonna have to stay Canada side until the custody battle chills or COVID chills. So it's probably the custody battle. Um, so I'm gonna be doing a lot of work on the podcast on the spirituality side of things. So, but like I've been desperately looking for you. You are what I've been looking for.
I'm so glad. And no, I'm pretty much an open book about things, to be honest with you. Like, yeah, like my work is my whole life's work. Like I'm kind of weird. Like I'm also doing a PhD in science. So people are kind of like, what? Like exactly your face. People are like, what, pardon?
That's
Like
everything to me. That
everyone's
like
confused.
no, because you are me, but an academic.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, it's very weird.
we make no sense.
Yeah, I feel like it makes sense, but I feel like, and I'm sure you probably also think it makes sense,
Yeah.
but the other folks, they're kind of like, hello, like, can we just like back up a second?
Yeah.
I think like that's part of the awesomeness that like magic is and can be, is it
Yeah.
really is just like merged with so many different areas of life. And like, even if you're going to think about like what is wrestling, like there's something very ritualistic about it, something very magical about it. There's like the beginning, there's like the direction of energy, there's the come down, there's like, I don't
Oh,
really,
girl.
I don't know,
Yes.
I know nothing about wrestling, but like just kind of like extrapolating off of what little I do know, like there is, like, to me it's all related, it's all related.
What area of science? Is it general science or?
Philosophy of science. So it's
Oh,
like, how is scientific knowledge produced? Who gets to do that? Why and how and when? And I'm also doing like some trauma stuff, some like history of medicine stuff, some like popular science, like DIY health stuff.
oh my God, I
It's
love
like this
it.
whole weird cluster of things. But that's also happening like in my background as well,
Oh
which
God, I want to hear all about that.
confuses people in a big way. But it's fun. And
I
like
think that's genius.
I'm totally happy to get into it as well.
Cool.
Yeah. So
Are
yeah.
you free during the day, like
Yeah,
weekdays?
totally. Yeah.
Cool, because my son's in daycare Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, totally.
So
We can do that.
let's meet up next week.
Totally.
Okay, well, like if you're free, like I mean, like
Yeah.
I'll sit.
I'll
Let's
have to
cross
check
calendars.
I'll have to check my schedule, and but I'm sure we'll figure something out for
Well, I'm
sure.
so excited that this happened. Yay!
Oh, thanks so much for reaching out. I was kind of like, hold on, what? Oh wait, cool.
Well, thank you for being open to it because I know it doesn't like
Yeah, no,
conventionally make any sense, but I feel like there's
no, it's
there's
awesome.
something makes sense about it to me.
No, I totally dig it. And
Cool.
thank you for inviting me. And I'm
Yeah.
actually so curious, like, what is the audience of your show usually like? Like, who's your people usually?
Sorry, he does this. He needs to be part of every podcast.
Oh, hey, bud.
Can you say hi to Sabrina?
Hi, Sabrina.
Hi.
And
Okay. You gonna go do your dancing? Oh, hi, Kit. Okay, mommy's almost done. Okay, sweetie? Just give me a few more minutes. So
It's so cute.
thank you. So it's interesting because with women's wrestling, you have people that genuinely are just like wrestling nerds. So they just love wrestling, period. But then you have like the dark horse side of it, which has always been where you have people that are kind of just like sexually inclined to like women's wrestling because it's a little bit niche. It's, you know, it's somewhat sexual. But I feel like we've really moved away from that side of wrestling. Like it's become more of like a respected athletic sport, which is what I was always striving for the first part of my career. And then it never seemed to get out of the model world. So I left and I came back, and now we're on this whole girl power trip where it's a respected sport, even though it's theatrical and all that other stuff. So the podcast audience is actually huge considering I've been inactive. We have 35,000 downloads.
Holy shit, dude. Congrats.
Thank you.
Oh, it's something to be proud of, like, for real. It's not easy to build like an audience and then to So, like,
it is still like 80% male.
that's
but
cool.
But there's nothing sexual about the podcast. Like, I mean, like, it's so easy to be like, this is usually why men are so attracted to it. But literally, I'm just telling stories. Like, we're talking about realness. That's what this is. It's the journey about the intimate side of women. That's really what it is.
Which is cool. Like, to be honest, I feel like more men need to give a shit about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, I feel like that's really cool, actually, that the audience is men. Like, that doesn't bother me in any way.
Cool.
It's cool that, like, they're listening to just, like, women have a conversation about stuff that doesn't involve men.
Well, I think it's like that divine feminine energy that's coming into like the male role now.
Because it's so interesting.
Because literally it is focusing on the fact that it's female wrestlers, but these women are like entrepreneurs and artists and spiritual practitioners, and that's what they keep chiming into here.
Which is cool. It's more multifaceted than probably whatever they assume we might be.
And they stick around. It's the same numbers coming back every week. So it's one episode a week. So what I think I'm going to do this season is I'm still going to focus on the female wrestlers, but I'm going to focus more on the ones that are aligned spiritually. There's one woman that's like really into Viking culture. There's a few,
why not?
There's a few women from the UK that are really more into like the witchcraft, crystals, and then others that are just like on a general spiritual journey. And I can't believe the amount of them that are like coming out of the woodwork now too, that are being like, hey, me too.
I love it.
And then I would do mini episodes with people like yourself.
Yeah, awesome.
So
love it.
Cool. Okay, well, let's cross schedules and
totally.
Nice to meet you, new friend.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, and totally happy to come back as well and talk more in depth about the spiritual things.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well,
awesome.
We'll talk soon.
Talk soon.
Okay, bye.